All right, now Arvid again, unless someone else wants to jump in.
No. Wait, perhaps I got 20.
Yeah. So, Arvid, could you explain before you go into this? Oh, I'm excited about what you're going to say, but can you explain how you wound up in Cleveland and how, and then likewise how we missed you get the opportunity to get you in Pittsburgh?
I just like to say I came to Cleveland out of love, not necessarily a love of the city, but a love of a woman.
Nor of this lab.
My wife lived here before I did, and we were in grad school together in Toronto, Canada, and then I bounced around. I was in Ithaca, in Boston, in Sweden for a bit, but she was here the whole time. And then at some point I got old, so I really wanted to move where she lived. And Jake was kind enough to take me in.
We got lucky.
So that was 3 years ago. I came to Cleveland.
That's awesome. I just was sharing my envy is all.
Yeah. I remember when you first visited, and you gave a talk about birds or something, and but it was just you were just passing through, maybe.
Yeah, because I lived there or my wife had lived there for several years, so I would kind of try to reach out to local people here whenever I come to visit at a clinic at Case Western, at Kent State, Ohio, or anyone who would have me. I would go try to come visit. Of all of them, Jake was the nicest, and he so yeah, that was.
Notice he didn't say anything about scientific fit or acumen.
I was aware that was secondary.
No, it's been fantastic along all dimensions. But kind of broadly, what I'm interested in research-wise is kind of the evolution within organism conflicts and this kind of observation that multicellular bodies are this product of the cooperation between thousands of genes and millions of cells. And I'm quite generally interested in what happens when that cooperation breaks down, when you get conflict instead between genes or between cells. And in general, over the years, the work that we do has kind of started to follow these three broad paths that I here label foundations, implications, and applications. So kind of the main one that has been kind of the heart of it has been this kind of foundations of it, of kind of using population genetic theory and other modeling tools to try to understand how and why such conflicts arise and what prevents them from getting out of hand. So been interested in how things like reproduction, how if you reproduce sexually or asexually, or you self-fertilize or not, and more recently, more broadly about how development affects the opportunities for conflicts. But in many ways, I got interested in these kind of things, not necessarily so much because of a particular example or a particular case of it, but rather through kind of thinking about the broader cases of it. So under the kind of heading of implication, I'm interested in what can study conflicts within organisms using tools that were developed to study interactions between organisms. What can that tell us about those within organism conflicts? But also reciprocally, what can studying internal conflicts tell us about social evolution more broadly? Recently, we got a grant where we collaborate with a philosopher and we have two postdocs, one from economics and one from biology, who are looking at kind of modeling internal conflicts both in biology and in economics to see how these two fields who have thought a lot about these two, how collectives may face internal conflicts, how the two fields have reached different and similar kinds of solutions to the problem. And the second kind of branch of this implication work is that I had this interest in the history and philosophy of the gene-side view of evolution, or the kind of selfish gene theory. So a couple of years ago, I wrote a book about that, the history of that debate, why some people see it as the light in the way, and some see it as something that was debunked in the 80s and not worth bothering with, and how we can kind of find a middle way between those two. Finally then, and particularly since I came here, I've become interested in how we can take this evolutionary theoretical insight in a more applied way. So I've collaborated with people who do kind of comparative oncology. Why is it that some species are more vulnerable to cancer than others? And also more recently started dabbling a little bit in kind of what we can call kind of comparative obstetrics, that humans are very vulnerable to illnesses related to pregnancy. And I think of that as how that may arise from both kind of parent offspring or sibling conflict opens up a way to understand some of those kind of issues related to hypertension and related things. And finally, kind of how I first came across the theory division and similar, I was been very kind of taken by the theory behind these ideas of adaptive therapy, which I think can be conceptualized in many ways as kind of a way to harness internal conflicts within tumors to try to delay the evolution of treatment resistance. Finally, one last plug, one publication that kind of brings these three strands together is this edited volume that I put together with a collaborator of mine, Manus Patton. It comes out in 2 weeks, so keep an eye out and fill your stockings.
Just in time for Christmas.
Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the new volume. I just want to say for my people, because they may not know as well as your group does, that you are a beautiful writer. I enjoy. What was great is when I was lucky enough to be able to, read your book for free. And I can say that's true. It doesn't probably help you very much, but
This is the last thing you
but our library provides access, and so yeah, it's been in my been sort of it's what it's the chapters have been in my my folder of things to read when I can, and they are really elegant.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yeah, most university libraries should have access to it, and if someone can't get access, if you inquire, I can send you. I'm more than happy to send a PDF of it too, if someone can't get hold of it in other ways.
So my dad's an author, and he says the opposite. He says, "I don't actually care if you read it; just please buy it."
That's what my dad says as well, for the same reason.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So let me ask, like, what do you find enriching about putting you on the spot? What do you find enriching about being sort of in the weeds in Jake's group to the extent that you can?
I think the kind of interaction between theory and empirical work is very stimulating. So as over the years, my interests have become much more theoretical and philosophical.
Yeah.
And this is kind of interaction between theory and data. And I think being also at a research institute linked to a hospital is that these are kind of the standard of evidence is so high. So like, what would the evidence look like that would make physicians change their mind about how you go about treating something? And I think that is fundamentally very different than how I was used to thinking about problems. So even though that hasn't really, I don't operate in that world, is being around people who do is very stimulating, I think. So that kind of interaction has, I found very rewarding to be around.